The Galactic Council Chamber stretched across 3 miles of polished stone. Representatives from 200 species filled the vast hall. Some floated in containment spheres. Others stood on legs, sat on coils, or hung from perches. They had come from every corner of the galaxy. At the center platform stood Ambassador James Cole, representing Earth. He was nervous. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years ago. They were the youngest members, the newest, the least respected. Honored members, James began, his voice amplified across the chamber. Earth has detected something in the void beyond our galaxy. Something old, something dangerous. A wave of dismissive clicks and hums rippled through the audience. High Chancellor Vex, a tall being with 4 arms and crystalline skin, spoke from the central throne. Ambassador Cole, we have explored the galaxy for 10,000 years. What could humans possibly detect that we have not? James pressed forward. Our scientists have been studying radio signals from deep space. Strange patterns. They match legends from Earth's ancient past. Stories of the Devourers. Beings that consume entire worlds. Laughter erupted from several sections. The reptilian delegates hissed with amusement. The insectoid races clicked their mandibles in mockery. Legends? Commander Tar of the Krellian Empire stood. His red scales gleamed under the chamber lights. You bring fairy tales to the Galactic Council? They are not just stories, James insisted. He activated a holographic display. Images of ancient Earth cave paintings appeared, showing strange symbols and dark shapes consuming stars. Every culture on Earth has similar warnings. The Devourers, the endless hunger, the Dark Ones, different names, same threat. Primitive superstition, High Chancellor Vex declared. The Council has real matters to address. James felt his frustration rising. We analyzed the radio signals. They are getting closer, stronger. Something is coming. Earth has been part of this council for barely a moment in galactic time, said Elder Mira, a floating being of pure energy. You lack the experience to interpret deep space phenomena. Our telescopes, James started, are toys compared to our instruments, Commander Tar interrupted. If there was truly a threat, our systems would have detected it centuries ago. James looked around the chamber desperately. Not one face showed belief. Not one species stood with Earth. Please, he said quietly, we are asking the Council to prepare defenses, to investigate. At least send a probe to verify. Denied, High Chancellor Vex said firmly. This Council will not waste resources chasing human ghost stories. Perhaps when Earth has existed in galactic society for more than a heartbeat, we will take your warning seriously. More laughter. More dismissive sounds. James stood alone on the platform as the Council moved to other business. They discussed trade routes, mining rights, border disputes. Normal things. No one wanted to hear about warnings from Earth. 3 months later, James sat in his quarters aboard the human embassy station. Reports flickered across his screen. The signals were stronger now. Much stronger. His assistant, Lieutenant Kate Miller, entered. Her face was pale. Sir, you need to see this. She transferred data to his screen. Long-range sensors had picked up something at the galaxy's edge. A darkness. Not empty space. Something that absorbed light. How big? James asked. Bigger than anything in our databases. It's moving toward the outer colonies. James felt cold dread in his stomach. Which colonies? The Krellian mining worlds. The ones Commander Tar was so proud of during the council meeting. Send a message to the Krellians. Warn them. Kate hesitated. Sir, they blocked our communications after the council vote. They said Earth's paranoia was ... annoying. James closed his eyes. 20 million Krellians lived on those mining worlds. Families, children, all because the council was too proud to listen. "Keep monitoring," he said, "and prepare Earth's defense fleet." "Sir, we only have 30 ships. If this is what you think it is, then 30 ships might be all that stands between the galaxy and extinction." In the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, something ancient stirred. It had heard the radio signals bouncing through space. It had tasted the electromagnetic signatures of civilizations. After sleeping for 1,000,000 years, the Devourers had awakened, and they were hungry. Asterisk. The emergency broadcast reached the Galactic Council 6 hours after the Krellian. Mining colonies went silent. High Chancellor Vex stared at the static-filled screen in disbelief. Where 20 million lives had existed, there was now only darkness. Not empty space. Not debris. Just absolute void. "This cannot be real," Elder Mira whispered. Her energy form flickered with distress. Commander Tar stood frozen. His red scales had turned pale gray. "My people? My entire colony." The screen shifted. A final transmission from the mining world played. It showed a Krellian officer screaming into a camera. Behind him, the sky had turned black. Not night. Something worse. The darkness was moving, flowing like liquid across the stars. They came from nowhere. They're eating everything. The ships, the buildings, the very ground beneath. The transmission ended. Forever. Ambassador James Cole entered the emergency council session uninvited. Guards moved to stop him, but High Chancellor Vex raised a hand. Let him speak. James walked to the center platform. He felt no satisfaction in being right. Only horror. 3 more colonies have gone dark in the past hour, he said quietly. All in the outer rim. The Devourers are moving inward. How do we fight them? Commander Tar demanded. His voice cracked with grief and rage. "I don't know," James admitted. "But Earth's defense fleet is already moving to intercept. We have 30 ships. It's not much, but 30 ships?" Elder Myra said. "Against something that consumed an entire colony in minutes? It's 30 more than anyone else is sending." Silence filled the chamber. High Chancellor Vex finally spoke. "Deploy the Council's defense fleet. All available ships. Meet the human vessels at the outer rim." Orders went out across the galaxy. Warships from 200 species began moving toward the threat. The largest military mobilization in galactic history. But they were too slow. 4 days later, the human defense fleet reached the colony world of New Hope. Population, 45 million. Species, mixed civilian population. Captain David Ross commanded the Earth battleship Defiance. On his view screen, New Hope hung in space like a jewel. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds. And the darkness arrived. It came from behind the colony's moon. A massive writhing shadow that blocked out the stars. The Devourers were not ships or beings. They were a living darkness. A swarm of something ancient and hungry. "All ships weapons free," Captain Ross ordered. "Protect the colony." 30 human ships opened fire. Nuclear missiles. Plasma cannons. Laser batteries. Everything humanity had developed. The weapons struck the darkness. For a moment, it seemed to work. Pieces of shadow exploded in flashes of light. But for every piece destroyed, 10 more flowed forward. "They're not stopping," Lieutenant Kate Miller shouted from the sensor station. "Nothing is stopping them." On New Hope, evacuation sirens wailed. Transport ships lifted off by the thousands. But there was not enough time. The darkness reached the planet's surface. Where it touched ground, everything vanished. Buildings, trees, mountains, people. All consumed, absorbed, gone. "Get those transports to safety," Captain Ross ordered. "Cover their escape." The human fleet formed a defensive line between the fleeing civilians and the Devourers. Ship after ship was engulfed. The battleship Thunder, the destroyer Hope, the cruiser Valiant. They fought. They died. But they bought time. 14,000 transports escaped. 30 million people were saved. 15 million were not. Captain Ross watched the darkness consume his ship's forward hull. Alarms screamed. The crew evacuated to the aft sections. "This is defiance to all ships," he broadcast. "We can't kill them, but we can slow them down. Ram them if you have to. Every second counts." 3 days later, Ambassador James Cole stood before the Galactic Council again. His uniform was dirty. His eyes were hollow. He had not slept since the battle. 7 human ships survived, he reported. 23 were lost. But we saved 30 million civilians from New Hope. The chamber was silent. Every species present had watched the battle footage. They had seen humans sacrifice themselves for people they barely knew, for species that had mocked them. Commander Tar approached James, the Krellian warrior, placed a clawed hand on the human shoulder. "Your people fought with honor, with courage. I owe you an apology." "Keep your apology," James said quietly, "and help us figure out how to stop them." High Chancellor Vex stood. "The Council was wrong to ignore Earth's warning. We will not make that mistake again. Ambassador Cole, humanity will lead our defense strategy." James nodded. "Then we need to go back through those old Earth legends. Our ancestors survived the Devourers once. Maybe they left us instructions. The galaxy had ignored Earth's warning. Now Earth was their only hope. Asterisk. Deep in Earth's archives, a team of scientists worked around the clock. Professor Robert Hayes led the research. He was 70 years old and had studied ancient human civilizations his entire life. "There has to be something," he muttered, scanning through cave paintings from Australia. "Every culture warned about the Devourers. They must have left us a way to fight back." His colleague, Dr. Lisa Park, pointed to a pattern. "Look at this. The Aboriginal paintings show the darkness-consuming stars. But here," she highlighted a symbol, "they show fire pushing it back." "Fire?" Robert frowned. "We tried every weapon. Heat doesn't work. Not regular fire." Lisa pulled up more images. Ancient Greek texts, Mayan carvings, Norse runes. They all mention the same thing. The sun fire. The first light. The light that burns forever. Robert's eyes widened. "They're talking about stars. The Devourers avoid stars." He checked the battle reports. Every attack had happened in deep space, or on planets far from their suns. Never near a star itself. "Contact Ambassador Cole," Robert said urgently. "We know how to stop them." On the Galactic Council warship Unity, James Cole listened to Robert's theory. Around him, military commanders from 50 species waited. "You want us to lure them into a star?" Commander Tar said skeptically. "Not just any star," James explained. "We need to trap them. Use gravity wells. Force them toward a sun, and keep them there." Elder Myra's energy form pulsed thoughtfully. "The Devourers move through space like liquid. They flow around obstacles. How do we contain them?" "Gravity nets," Kate Miller suggested. She had been promoted to strategic officer after the Battle of New Hope. "If we position ships in a sphere pattern and generate overlapping gravity fields, we can create a cage that herds them into a star," High Chancellor Vex said slowly. "It could work. It will require perfect timing," Commander Tar warned. "And ships will have to hold position even as the Devourers attack them." "My people will hold the line," James said firmly. The plan was set. The galaxy's combined fleet moved to intercept the Devourers at the red giant star called Crimson Eye. 500 ships. 200 species. All following Earth's strategy. Captain David Ross commanded the operation from the rebuilt Defiance. His crew had volunteered to be part of the gravity net, the most dangerous position. All ships in position, he reported. Activating gravity generators. Across the void, 500 ships created overlapping fields of artificial gravity. They formed a massive sphere around Crimson Eye, a trap waiting to be sprung. Devourers came. The darkness flowed through space like a tidal wave, hungry, endless, ancient. Hold formation, David ordered as the shadow approached. Do not break the net. The Devourers hit the gravity sphere. For the first time, they could not flow around an obstacle. The overlapping fields forced them inward. Toward the star, they pushed back. Hard dot ships on the perimeter began to buckle. Hulls cracked. Systems failed. Section 7 is failing. Kate shouted. The Devourers are breaking through. Reinforce Section 7. James commanded. All reserve ships, move now. 20 vessels rushed to plug the gap. They added their gravity generators to the net. The hole closed. The Devourers were trapped, pushed closer and closer to the red giant's surface. They're burning, Elder Myra exclaimed. The star's light is destroying them. Where the darkness touched the stellar fire, it dissolved, screamed, died. The Devourers writhed and twisted, trying to escape. But the gravity net held. For 3 hours, the fleet maintained position. Ships died. Crews were lost. But the net held. When it was over, the darkness was gone. Consumed by the very light it had tried to avoid, the galaxy fell silent. Then cheering erupted across 500 ships. 200 species celebrated together. They had won. 1 week later, the Galactic Council gathered for a formal session. This time, Ambassador James Cole stood not as a supplicant, but as an honored guest. High Chancellor Vex addressed the assembly. For 10,000 years, we believed we were the masters of this galaxy. We were wrong. We grew arrogant. We stopped listening to warnings. She turned to James. Earth is the youngest member of this council, but your people remembered what we forgot. Ancient wisdom, humility, sacrifice. Commander Tar stepped forward. I propose Earth be given a permanent seat on the High Command. All in favor? Every species voted. Yes. James felt emotion swell in his chest. Humanity had earned its place, not through conquest or technology, but through courage and wisdom. The galaxy had ignored Earth's warning. They would never make that mistake again. End of story. Asterisk.